And we're alive. Hello, dear star shines. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another edition of the Lunchtime Chats. I'll chill for a second and give everybody a minute to get on board. Hello, Beverly. Hello, Sherry. Good to see you guys. So, for those of you who are new or are listening to the recording, my name is Christina, and I am a consciousness acceleration expert. And we are here to talk about those topics and issues that are significant for us star seeds, way showers, and new paradigm visionaries. We have capacities, we have abilities that are not necessarily embraced by our larger human family. And therefore, it's very rarely addressed in the kinds of public conversations that we have going on around us. So I am here to offer, to the best of my ability, a liberated perspective on these narratives and different segments that are happening within our lives, so we can keep moving forward in our sovereignty and empowerment journey. So welcome, 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 everybody. So I've been immersed in nature for several weeks, I don't know how many weeks it's been now. See, I completely lost track of time and how long things have been happening. Let's see. I think we started on the 4th of May. Okay, so this is kind of like today is the first full day in full civilization that I've been immersed in nature for quite some time now. And, we've been doing a lot of work, personal work, energetic work, grid work with Hal. That's the Healer Acceleration Lab training that we have in Light Body. And then again, and that continued on when we went to the Wildflower Sanctuary with Andy at growwiser.net. Beautiful work that he's doing there. There's so much to cover with that space. There was no way that we could have got it all. But our forest initiation, our forest wisdom circle session was mostly about, not completely, but mostly videotaping all the extraordinary crystal beings that he has on his property. And there are a lot of them, and they're everywhere. And the crystal grid networks and the inner earth grid networks. And, there's all these really fascinating higher level consciousness networks that are connecting and flowing within that property. And then there's Andy himself, who has a passion for nature, and he pays close attention to all the nature that's going on in the several hundred acres that's part of that foundation, including cultivating and maintaining wildflowers, indigenous wildflowers to Oregon. So just another shout out to dear brother Andy for his great work. And then after that, we go and visit another dear, sweet couple, Brian Bland and Sue Funkhauser. They have this wonderful sanctuary they're beginning to cultivate in southern BC. So continuing the connection with nature, with connecting into the natural rhythms of life, connecting into the elements. We got to sit by a fire every night, just talking and sharing stories and stuff like this. And, this is a natural rhythm for humans. And, for me, it's been really, really nice to get out of the rhythms and the I could call it the hustle and bustle of the basic human matrix experience, and just slow down. It's so much easier to unwind the nervous system when we're going at a slower pace. So I've now departed from their sanctuary, and I'm back in the U.S. and I'm going through the Rocky Mountains. As you might notice, my background here, it's absolutely stunning every time I go through. I love the lands of this country. Canada's gorgeous as well. British Columbia, absolutely. And of course, the mountains in Central and South America. But there's something very special about this segment of mountains for me. Every time I drive through, I'm touched in some way. And a lot of it, if I were to go into, newer age lingo or indigo lingo, whatever you want to call that, I would connect the mountains with the connection with higher consciousness grids. So I have not been keeping up on what's the latest thing people are talking about, as far as grid work goes, or as far as what portals are open or anything like that. Our resident astrologer and I, Ray Ellen Siebert, we've been talking a little bit, and she was sharing with me that there's some very significant alignments going on, and that there is, in addition to that prolonged Syrian Stargate open, there's a Palladian Stargate that's about to open, or has just opened, that is inundating our consciousness grids on a higher level. And I feel like when we go through the mountains, you can really, that is where you'll feel those grids first, if you're not already sensitive to them. Going to the mountains is the place historically that man has always gone to meet God. Man has always gone up a mountain. In every religious text and every tradition, they've got the story of the story that's shared is the prophet, the Messiah, the this or that, climbed up a mountain and met God. And you can take that, or I like to take that as this indication that they climbed up a mountain and rose above the basic collective human grid and experienced their own divinity. Once they get the clarity and the silence and the peace that happens once you clear the human matrix drama. So, and in the traditions that I've, the main tradition that I've been initiated and studied with, they also talk about mountains are the great receivers to all of the star knowledge. All the cosmic knowledge, galactic knowledge, and star knowledge has to first pass through the mountains. The mountains receive those transmissions first. And this is why the great Karakukuyaks, the great masters, the great legendary shaman, if you will, are living high up in the mountains, because they are masticating, they are receiving these transmissions and digesting the energy of them, and then transferring, or not just digesting it, but they completely integrate it within their being, so then they can transmit the digested version of that consciousness, of that frequency, to the masses, to their people, to their tribes, their communities. And then for those of you that do energy work and do healing work and really are diligent and committed, you probably have noticed by now that once you stick your finger in the spiritual lightning socket, or you get a transmission download, it takes some time for it to really come through and for you to unpack the layers of it. And it can take days, it can take weeks, it can take years, it can take decades. It all depends on the energy and how your consciousness is, and your capacity to digest it. And then once it's digested, your inner being is able to convey it via a healing story, a beautiful healing story, one that touches the listener, one that delivers the essence of the mystery of what you received to the receiver. And this is part of the work of wind medicine, part of the work of story medicine. So our stories are essential to our integration and digestion process. If we are repeating stories inside of us that are perpetuating polarity games, when I say polarity, that means good, bad, right, wrong, he, she, I, them, good, bad, all that. If we have polarity stories going on while this energy is trying to digest, we stall the process out, because that polarity story, that was loud. I don't know if you guys heard that. That polarity story is draining the energy, draining your capacity to really fully digest this transmission. So it can take longer. This is why the masters, the healers, I'm sorry, not the healers, I didn't mean to say that. The masters and the monks and the gurus, they are the ones that reside in the mountains, because they are the ones that have dedicated their lives to cleaning out their vessel, cleansing their vessel, and dedicating their life force energy to the benefit of all humanity, and therefore pursue silence, pursue inner peace. And in that state, you can receive and digest a lot of higher consciousness transmissions. So going back to going through the mountains that I just went through, you know, these mountains have been receiving transmissions for quite some time, and there's some very significant stone beings that occupy that area that also help anchor and also transmit consciousness. And it's some of it's in the form of memory, some of it is in the form of actually transmitting energy and being part of a consciousness grid. So every time I drive by there, I get a different kind of download, a different kind of event that transpires. And here I am now on the edge. I'm about to go into the plains part of the US. It's a beautiful landscape. It's in a different way. Here, once you get into what they call the prairie, there's vast emptiness, which is also a meditative experience to be in a place of vast emptiness. There's not a lot of obstructions to the horizon. And when your eyes are feasting on something like that, that helps your internal world also declutter, if that makes sense. And it could be because I've been spending a lot more, this time in nature and really connecting in with the elemental forces and whatnot. And that's what makes it so much more tangible this time around. It could be. And, I'm grateful for that, because when I'm experiencing these landscapes, a healing is occurring, a clearing away is occurring. I want to say a courageous emergence. It's making space for a courageous emergence to happen. And this is the key for transformation. As I know all of you guys know, you've all been through your own forms, transformational experiences. And, they're pretty intense very often. But there is a time when we do surrender into it and we just say, yes, here I am. And we put one foot in front of the other and we make it through. And for, humanity is in for a lot of transformation. I think we can all agree. There's a lot of transformation happening. I started to listen to some of the podcasters that I've listened to while, beforehand, and I'm having a hard time. It feels really jagged. It feels very abrupt. And what I noticed, and maybe you guys are noticing this too, I would really be interested to hear that. Hey, Susan, good to see you. I'd be really interested to hear if you guys notice that, because it could just be where I'm at right now. This is why it's so obvious, is that every single podcaster, alternative, mainstream, left wing, right wing, even the neutral, or those that claim to be neutral, it all feels very contrived. It all feels super contrived. Like nothing is just, oh, I found out my investigation revealed this information. I really feel like, I want to make sure you're informed too. No, it's more of like, it's all kind of crafted to get people to want to watch. It's all very contrived. And there is one podcast I was able to listen to all the way, which is so funny because it's so tabloid. It's so tabloidy. I was chuckling through the whole time, so that probably helped me get through the podcast. It was Candace Owens talking about the most recent thing with the whole lawsuit with the Beldoni and Lively and all that. And it felt so tabloid, and I was laughing through. But when she got through, I realized, yeah, you know what? She is obsessed with this and she truly wants to inform. So it didn't even matter that it was all tabloidy and whatever. It was actually her passion. She was really wanting to inform. It was not about trying to you know what I mean? It wasn't about the bait click. It wasn't about shaping a narrative because you're getting paid by a certain grant to report on certain things. which is how news works in this country. I don't know if you guys realize there's grants, hundreds of thousands of dollars are paid to people to report on stuff, and it's all done to shape a narrative. Now, the reporter might know it or not know it, but the person, the foundations and corporations and companies, NGOs know why they're funding that particular kind of news. You know what I mean? So, so, uh, so it's interesting going back into the world of collective drama and recognizing those things. I'm curious if you guys are noticing anything, and please let me know if there's any kinds of news stories or any kinds of information that's coming out that you're finding triggering, or maybe you're having some epiphanies. I would love to hear them. I was really self indulgent on my drive over the past I don't know how many hours I've been driving. I'm on my second day, so I have not really thought a lot about what's really important to talk about today. Because I'm being gentle with myself, emerging out of this natural rhythm, the life force energy of the elemental realm, going into, into society, going into the human drama, I'm going to call it. So you guys, if you're going to respond, I hope you guys give me some tidbits here of what you've been into lately. I'll talk about some of the contact experiences I've had over the past few weeks. So this whole thing started off with a Healer Acceleration Lab. We call it HAL for short. Training in a park in the mountains in British Columbia. And I'm still unpacking that. There was a lot of energy. The training was all about the keepers, working with the keepers. And initially, what I was thinking about was working with the keepers of those lands, working with the different elemental beings, whether they be Fae or Sasquatch or whatever. And the gift that those Fae beings gave to us was to activate our own deep inner capacity as keeper. And what many of the people there are keepers of are profound pillars of being, pillars that transcend time and space, pillars that have been in existence since feels like, been in existence since the beginning of time. And what a wonderful and profound experience that is to share in a collective that is mutually respectful, mutually loving, receptive. You know what I mean? It was like a true elder council meeting that was happening. And it really activated a lot of ancient energies. It helped us clear out some some dramas that were, happening in our own mind about things. It really, usually when you're working a lot of energy, it's difficult to stay grounded and centered. Thank you, Susan. I'll totally get to that. Usually when you're working with big energy, it's very easy to get thrown off center, to get ungrounded and that kind of thing. But really what I was experiencing with this group was that the stronger the energy, the more centered we were. It was like the more centered and grounded we were, the more that was coming through, the more that was getting transmitted for digestion, the more that was getting shared, and the deeper we were going. And that was really cool to see. And I really feel like that was part of the teachings of the elemental realm. And there were times when, now everybody in this group is psychic intuitive. We have capacities, and there are several times when we were gathered around the fire where we can feel that we were a circle within a circle, and we were on the fire was the center, and we were an inner circle, and then around us was a circle of elders, and other times what was around us was a circle of Sasquatch beings. And the anchoring, the reassuring was really, really, really strong. They definitely nurtured us as we stepped forward to work these energies, to unwind some blind spots and learn to learn about ourselves, touch it more deeply, and accept, so we can be even more anchored and centered. You see, and that's still, like I said, something that I'm digesting still. I think it's going to take a while. At the very end, there was a female Sasquatch that was made contact with me, and later on, it was recognized as a Sasquatch. She was recognized as a Sasquatch named Raj, who people later on that I had contact with was strongly suggesting that that was the daughter of his main teacher. So very interesting how these things unfold and how they all connect. It really helps everything remain magical. You know, it really helps the great mystery be a journey of joy versus one of scarcity and fear. It really helps one be in a place of excitement and anticipation. You know, what's going to come next when contact experiences like that connect with other experiences. You know what I mean? Sometimes those contact experiences take a long time to come full circle, but the fact is that they do. And it's not like any of these Fae elemental beings are going to stop doing what they're doing. You know, it's like, just like we have a purpose for incarnating in this reality, in this time space in this place that we call a time and a space of Mother Earth or Pachamama or Gaia, however you want to understand that. They have their purpose too. And what we discovered is that, you know, we're intricately linked. There is no separating. So our purpose, their purpose, they are the same. They are within the same vein, and we're never going to stop going in that direction, step by step. And that's really, there's emotion with that. That's a really important thing to remember, that yes, we can get sidetracked to this and sidetracked to that. But if we constantly are bringing ourselves back because we are committed to our own transformation, that next footstep always happens. And then the next step after that. And it may be a big period of time between those steps. But the important part is that step doesn't, that step it's inevitable that step occurs. And it's inevitable not because you're trusting some outward source. It's inevitable because that is you. That is your nature. That's who you are. You're never going to stop your transformation. You're never going to stop your, your desire to better yourself, to heal, to transform. This is something that's ingrained in me. It's ingrained in you. There's nothing that's going to stop that. So this purpose that I'm talking about that's unfolding, it's never going to halt. There's always a movement forward eventually, and it may be a little faster than we're comfortable with, and it may be a little slower or a lot slower than we want, but the fact is it's inevitable. And the message is with that is really settle into the inevitability of that, the absoluteness of that. Okay. So that helps us when we're in those moments of despair and fear or in lack, or, we touch these drama grids in the human realm and we get carried away. It's like we can feel the suppression, we can feel the pain. You know what I mean? We can, because we're sensitive, we can feel all that, and just know that experience is really intense just right now because you're tuning into it, because you're focusing on it, not because it's a reality that you're going to get stuck in. You can always tune back into the zone inside, to this moment, to that feeling that I'm talking about. You're never going to stop. Nothing is ever going to stop you from transforming, from growing. You see what I mean? From enriching yourself, from healing. Nothing is ever going to stop that. Okay, let's go back up to hello. Good to see you. Oh, darling, we were totally mentioned you on the weekend. We were with Brian and Sue, and your name come up a couple times. Welcome. Hello, dear sister Joanne. Thank you. It's good to see you. It's been a while. All right, I'm going to go to Susan, and then I'm going to go to Behind My Eyes and Storylines. All right, so Susan says, I feel sucked into scrolling often, and I get disappointed in myself with that. None of the information is very informative, although I was triggered by statistics of the missing children. Yes. So I get it because I've in the past definitely have scrolled too. Unplugging from the human reality and really immersing in nature definitely uh, eases that desire to scroll. It is so much more satisfying to sit at a fire than to scroll through Instagram or something. And I can't explain, in good words, um, the mechanics of that. Just that, there's something about the frequency shift that is very, very nurturing, and it's easy to see that sitting by the fire is a much more nurturing experience than the scroll. And actually, all right, so the scroll thing, right. So think about scrolling that's in a particular rhythm, right? That light has a particular frequency. All the content that is very craftily created. It's created for a reason. Why is it created? To get your attention. Why do they want your attention? Because they're mining you. You are the products, okay? So look at it as you are making a decision to go into a energy sucking matrix, right? And it's an addiction. Treat it like an addiction, because we go in, that light starts hitting the dopamine, the different things start going on, and it's pleasurable for about 10 minutes, but then it starts turning into doom scrolling, right? That's because our brains have downgraded the dopamine receptors. So no matter what we do in the next few minutes or in the next hour or whatever, we are not going to get pleasure. We're not going to get pleasure at all, no matter what we do. Even if, someone comes over and we have great sex or something, you're not going to actually enjoy that. You're not going to be down for it because your dopamine receptors are quite literally numbed out. So what to do? This is going to sound crazy, and it's not sadistic, though it might sound sadistic. What to do is do something very, very uncomfortable. So when you do something that's mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically painful, that balances out, because that balances out the dopamine receptors in your brain. So, when you see the monks laying on the nails, I have a spiked mat, actually. I have a spiked mat with a rounded thing that I put my neck in. Oh my gosh. It hurts at first, but then the pain resets that dopamine interaction, and then it becomes very relaxing and very pleasing. So when you are trapped in the doom scrolling thing, or when those things start going on, do spend 10-15 minutes, a half hour, doing something very uncomfortable that you hate, don't like, you know what I mean? And it could be pain. I mean, you can stand on some nails or something if that's something that works, if you have access to that kind of thing, or do a cold plunge or something that makes pain. It has to be pain, though. It can't be something that you're drab about. It needs to actually have the reaction of ouch, and that reaction of not liking it at all. So do that. That'll reset the brain. Your dopamine receptors will come back online, and then you can be back in business, and you won't be, also disconnect you from the losing network that whole system is connected to. Okay. For those of you that want something you can do right now to end that cycle, but this thing about the children, this is a highly weaponized narrative. There's truth to it, but also understand that it's weaponized. It is weaponized to make you reactive. It wants you. The energy of despair is one that's very interesting for the human body to experience, because we start oozing and oozing and oozing, because we literally, because of our ancestry and what the human experience has been over the past 100,000, 200,000 years, we literally, on the energetic, have a pit of despair inside of us. Okay. And I'm not talking about the pit of despair that's in The Princess Bride. This is like an energetic pit that thoughts, emotions, constructs, all that stuff collects. Heartbreak, all that collects in that, and it gets triggered. Once it gets triggered, we start oozing it. And there are beings that feed off of that energy. And because it's a vast pit, it's something that it's a button that can get tapped all the time. It can just tap, and it won't ever run out of resource. So I don't know if that painting that picture is helpful or not, but the same similar kind of thing. Despair if you let the despair take you into your emotional field and you ride the emotional field to the bottom, you'll get past despair and get to other things. You'll start to feel anger. You'll start to, feel being broken, and, you'll let that, but that's an emotional body journey through things. And that takes a lot of time, energy, and focus. And I know that we don't always have the personal resources to do that. So in the meantime, understand that despair is some yummy food for some nasty parasites. And there are definitely systems that are geared towards triggering that. And the child trafficking thing is one of them. And I'm not saying things aren't true. I'm just saying that the way they're portrayed, at the level they're portrayed, it's a stick and a carrot. It's used as a stick and a carrot. If they really wanted to eliminate it, it would be eliminated. Okay. I'm serious. If the powers that be truly wanted it eliminated, it would be eliminated. So it's a very convenient, there's a benefit to keeping it around on many levels. So just know that. There is some shifting that's coming with that, though, on another level. But I really can't, in this moment, I can't really give some clear details on how, with words to describe. Just that the change is here. We are in it right now. The choices that we make, how we spend our time, all these things are us doing our own contribution into that change that's happening. And this change is going to take a while. It's not like 6 months, bang, oh, presto, now it's all done. No. This is a long dying process and a long birthing process, and it's a marathon. And I've started saying that 10 years ago. This is not a sprint. This transformation is a marathon, and we need to understand what it is that we need to endure, because we are in the midst of gathering our strength, because there's a lot in the pipe coming for us to endure. Okay. All right, let me, Chris, Behind My Eyes and Storyline says, who are the crystal elemental keepers in the telluric realms? Okay, the crystal keepers. That's a great question. Or even that's at a totally different frequency than we were just at. So let me go back to, okay. So the ones that I've interacted with and I know about, they're guardians. They're like inner earth guardians. And they guard records, they guard memories that are made available to us when we're ready to tap in. When we're ready to tap in with that consciousness and retrieve those records, those memories of ourselves, they're the guardians, the keepers of that. So say, I don't know, we were to blow ourselves up or something. The records of everything that existed won't get blown up. It's going to stay safe because of these keepers. The crystal keepers are beyond time and space. I feel them as very potent inner earth beings. There's times when I've perceived them as actually ships in the earth. I've also perceived them as ships inside of people and inside of crystals. You know what I mean? So time, space, again, it doesn't matter when you're talking about this kind of consciousness. Now I know there are some channelers that claim that there's like the Talos, I think that's the name, there's the name Talos is coming, and these are all aspects of the guardianship, but the guardians are not, they are not, let's say, influenced by any interdimensional governing force. So when we talk about empire, that kind of thing, it's like they don't follow the rules of empire. When we talk about the different subcategories of the empire, like the narrative with the Nephilim and Anunnaki and blah 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 blah, they are not under subjected. They are not under that rule at all. They have their agenda, or if that's the way to say it, they have their purpose, their role, and it comes directly from the highest, how do I say that, cosmic mother guardianship, and often present as dragons, like crystal dragons, diamond dragons. There's lots of different dragon elementals coming forward these days. So that's my experience of that. The records. So what's important is that they're holding a consciousness grid, they're holding memories, they're holding records for us to wake up to. So as soon as we reach that frequency where we can connect in with those grids, they will come onto the scene and help us download, if that's the right way, or upload, depending on if you're looking spatially, um, the memories, so we can bring other aspects of us online. And the other aspects of us, that those memories, those seeds, records are meant to bring online, is who we are on a galactic level, who we are as a cosmic beings, who we are as beings. I'm going to say divine creator beings, and I say that because it's totally beyond the concept of God, right? What people call God, goddess. This is not Yahweh. This is not a dogma in any way, shape, or form. It is pure life force creation, and the joy of creating from that space. It's this pureness. And once we remember who we are, then we're beyond the manipulation. We're beyond the manipulation matrix, and we're now put more on the path of regenerating the body, helping others regenerate, connecting with the earth, helping others remember who they are. Then it's definitely a way shower ship times 10, right? Once we're online in those levels. Now, it all depends on your purpose, though, because everybody, as we discovered, everybody's magnificence is very, very customized to them. And one person's expression of their magnificence is different than another person's. And it's not that one is better than the other. They are both profound. They are both absolutely fulfilling, and they're complementary to each other. They don't conflict. They don't compete. They complement each other perfectly. And the more you are expressing of yours and they are expressing of theirs, the more interconnectedness, the more bonding, the more, you know what I mean? The energy just keeps working together and snowballs. And then more people that are in their truth in that way come forward. All right, let's see. All right, back to Susan. I probably can't stave off the loosh feeders, but I'm pretty good at focus on pain. So thanks for that. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Pain. Yes. Um, I know it sounds kind of sadistic, but you can see why some people get addicted to pain and why that is such a strong subculture in our world. We have people who can't stop getting tattoos. We have people who, the cutters, not that that's a great thing, but cutters. We have people that just constantly do things to create pain for themselves. Then you have the people who are like workout junkies, and then you have people that are, it really is a thing. You can get addicted to pain as much as you do pleasure, but what's important is to balance it out. That's what I learned in uh, studying this podcast that Diary's CEO did with that neurologist. She was an addiction expert, and she spoke specifically about how addictions work in the brain and psychologically, spiritually. It was a total game changer for me. I realized, oh my gosh, most of humanity is addicted. And that's why things are, really, they feel hopeless for a lot of people, is because they don't understand that chemically they are addicted. They're addicted to outrage. They're addicted to the artificial light. They're addicted to their pain. They're addicted to their sex or drugs, or being dominant. Like, some people are addicted to power, addicted to money. I mean, and it's all because of that dopamine hit, right? And our brain gets unbalanced. So it's just a matter of balancing it out. One of the big flags is that things that would normally be important for you aren't important anymore. That's a big red flag. And that's also overlaps with PTSD. That's something that happens with people with a lot of PTSD. So there's multiple markers to look at to decide if it's addiction and or PTSD. Though there's a lot of people with PTSD who are addicted, right? So that's definitely a dynamic thrown in there. But to me, it also explains why people are so apt to dehumanize each other. That's something that's really been confusing me, because, I'm in communities that some of them are very, very left, and some of them are very, very right. And, I'm talking about the political spectrum here. And it really baffles me that, like, the body workers and the healers and all that are super left. It baffles me on how easily they dehumanize people because of a narrative. And but now it makes sense with that addiction, with that addiction dynamic thrown into the mix. It does make sense. They are truly betraying themselves. They just can't see it because they're addicted to the outrage, or dot dot dot, fill in the blank. So humanity, like I said, humanity is in for some really significant changes. I don't know if it's going to be a war or a bomb or what, but there's something, I can feel it. There's some big shakeup that's in the unseen realm, that's working its way to the our realm, the visual realm of humanity. And it could be, it could be a great, yeah. See, I don't even want to go down that road because I'm not really sure. I mean, it could be a giant mothership revealing itself for all I know, but there's something coming. And when we were in our group, we could feel it, that, the elemental, the Fey realm really was feeling very strongly about us stepping into our purpose and helping others step into theirs, because we're really, really going to need it. It's like there's a moment coming for humanity where we really need to be anchored in our purpose to what I imagine is to cross over into a consolidated timeline versus a fractioned timeline. And hopefully you guys know what I mean by timeline. So timelines are artificially and naturally split, fragmented. It's the fractal nature of our reality. So how we split off is we explore many different possibilities at once with our infinite nature, right? So, and there are mechanisms, machinery put in place, interdimensional machinery put in place to create unintentional timelines, let's say like that, supposed, from a perspective, unintentional timelines. So because we have been living in these spheres of misinformation and lies, and I'm not just talking about the past couple decades, I'm talking about the several hundreds of thousands of years, things have been skewed, and especially the past 10,000 years, we have been, who we are, we've been cut off from the true memories of who we are, and it's beginning skewed. So because of that, we've been creating all kinds of false timelines based on lies and distortions. And what's happening is that it's all coming together into one consciousness stream now. And there's a major choice point coming where we're going to consolidate many, many, many different of those splayed off streams into one mainstream again. So how that happens, I don't know. Just I know that I can feel it coming. There's also something happening with the ant people. They are resurfacing, no pun intended. They're resurfacing into my awareness, and there's a message coming through. It's going to take me a minute to digest it. It started coming in, where were we? Oh shoot, where were we when the ant people? Okay, we were in the flower preserve when it started, and then it reiterated itself. Okay, so the ant people stuff was coming in. This is a funny story. And I gave it attention, but I wasn't giving it a lot of attention, right? It's like I knew it was something I needed to digest and look into, but there were so many other things that were really having my attention, with the traveling and the this and the that, I didn't spend a lot of time sitting with it. And then I go to this place with Brian and Laurel, and of course, a Sasquatch being presents, and he is a really extraordinary being, a teacher, and while I was connecting with him, he was kind of mining. It felt like he was mining my mind, mining my thoughts and my subconscious. And he started pulling out specific ideas and making comments about them. And one of them was the creation story and the ant people. And so it's like, oh yeah, the ant people are coming up again. This is my thought. Oh yeah, the ant people are coming up again. But again, I did not sit with it. I did not I sat with it a little bit, but there was other things going on that had my awareness. And then like the last day, no, the second to the last day, we are all in the truck, and Brian and Sue are like, "Hey, did you see this anthill?" And I'm like, "An anthill? What anthill?" And I'm thinking, maybe a large anthill, like a foot tall or something, because I've actually been to these massive energy vortexes where the king of the ant realm lives, and it's this massive anthill that's like 6 feet or more in diameter. But this was a massive anthill that was probably about 4.5 feet tall, and and in circumference probably about 3 feet in circumference, or in diameter, maybe a little less than 3 feet. I didn't walk the perimeter of it. I couldn't, but there was this huge pile, and it had millions of ants all through it. And I was chuckling because it's like, oh my gosh, there's the ant people again. So clearly the message is I need to be paying attention to, I need to sit with and digest what this message was about the ant people coming up. And it could be, this understanding that choice point is humanity, nurturing the feminine to be mothers again, to be, you know what I mean, to be not just breeders, but true nurturing perpetuators of the race, like ones that give birth to things that are true, to beings and projects and ideas and teachings like this that are truly nurtured and valued, that so our children come into the world, into a world where they're treasured, versus into a world where a lot of them have to fend for themselves by a really young age. Like even schools, you guys know this idea about children can be very mean on the schoolyard, right? It's like that's all a product of their upbringing. It's all a product of what they've endured growing up. Okay, all right. We have a couple of comments. Thank you, dear sister Joanne says, yes, I've missed you all. Been beckoning the classroom and with work with little ones. I have been taught by behaviors I've never seen before in an ECE environment. ECE. I don't know if I know what ECE environment is. Educational, children's. Sorry, darling. I don't know what that kind of environment means, but I get the vibe of what you're saying. Yes, absolutely. Hello, dear sister Christina Lopez. Welcome. Sue goes on to say, I remember we had a message about the ant people being subjected to original division of masculine and feminine. Oh, early childhood education. Okay, thank you, Joanne. Thank you for that. Original division of masculine and feminine. All right, well, I'm just tuning into that. Hold on. Yeah, I think there's a lot more there, because when I tune into it, I kind of feel like a hardness in my sternum. So that usually indicates I need to breathe into it and relax and just spend some quiet time with the intention of tuning in and seeing what comes. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I feel like it has something to do with reproduction. I'm not really sure what to say about that here. Yeah, it's something to do with reproduction. When we were at the anthill, I did make a couple comments to Brian about what was coming through was, there's the Hopi that talk about. So years ago, thank you to Sue and Jim, they introduced me to a gentleman who was deeply involved in the Hopi community, and he had befriended a medicine man, and this medicine man had all these artifacts that he did not have any apprentices or children or anybody to pass these artifacts on to, and they gave them to this gentleman. His name is Bob, if I'm remembering right, to keep them safe and to preserve them. So this meeting happens, and he invites us all over to his house after, and just out of the blue, he is telling me this, reciting to me the story on these story bowls. And one of the story bowls was all about the blue people coming, the Kachinas coming, and rescuing the ant people from their enslavement. The ant people were master builders, and they were considered enslaved via technology and other ways. Their consciousness was enslaved, so they would build. And it said that it was actually the ant people that built our moon, the current moon that we have. And he also indicated on those bowls these plus signs. And he said that anytime you see these plus signs in Hopi art, either in bowls or on kachinas or sand paintings, these plus signs are indicating deep space, and that the kachinas rescued the ants even as far out as deep space and brought them all back to this solar ring. The ones that were ready to come home to the mother, that healed and were ready to come home to the mother, came back to Earth and live in inner Earth. And the ones that still had more healing to do were settled on Mars. This is the story bowl, the Hopi that he's talking about. And it was really interesting because that comes to play now when I'm sitting at this ant mound, or standing at this ant mound, and it's coming to me that and also there's another being that also contributed into triggering these thoughts, is that there are still ant beings that have yet to be recovered, to be redeemed. Their consciousness has yet to be redeemed. They have not yet come home to the mother. When I say the mother, I'm talking about the Pachamama, Mother Earth. They have not yet come home to the mother. When you start going beyond this realm and going into inner Earth, the journey inward is the journey towards cosmic mother. This is creation mother. So this is not a religious thing or a doctrine kind of thing. This is one of those ancient stories of the inner journey. And these ancient stories are important for us to have, because it's difficult to navigate when you have no clue, when you have no reference point. Even if the reference point is skewed a little bit, it's still a reference point that can be helpful versus floating around. Imagine floating in deep space. There is no reference point. It's just endless expanse. There is no up, there is no down, there is no in, there is no out. Okay, so imagine coming from that kind of state and trying to navigate. It's impossible. We always need a reference point so we can tell if we're coming or going, or if we're going this way or that way. You see. So this thing with the ant people, yeah, I'm going to need to unpack that more. I'll sit with it. I have plenty of driving time. I have a pretty long drive ahead of me. So we'll see. We'll see what comes of that. I'll keep you guys posted. Now we're always in Light Body. We all are in the Dreamtime work. So, not everybody, almost everybody. I would say 80% of us. 80% of us are in the Dreamtime Healing Project. So we do collective dream tracking and these clinics and stuff at least twice a month. So new and full moon. So we'll continue to unpack and search. I shouldn't say that's not quite the right word, but we will continue to access dream more data, but also more transmissions with this through the Dreamtime space. Because if it's important, which it's real, I'm realizing it is. It's important. It'll come forward, and we'll bring it forward as a group, digest energy as a group, and then that will expedite the process versus it being up to just one person. Which, by the way, is one of the great advantages to working in communities. When they are integral communities like ours, it is really powerful to be a part of a community like this, because we digest energies very quickly as a community. So if you're struggling with a frequency coming in, a life lesson or whatever, and you're bringing it into our collective, we all share in that. So there's no one person with a load that they're on their own with. We're all part of that. And in the past, being part of a collective was kind of a drag, because when you're the only one doing the work and no one else is doing the work, then we kind of associated, that led to the experience of us associating being a part of community difficult. Here, let me turn this way. The wind is starting to kick up. But when you are in a group, a community where everybody is dedicated and doing their process and showing up every day, it's a beautiful process of grace. It's really an awesome thing to be in a group. So if you guys are interested in really sharing the burden, sharing the load, so to speak, or really shifting your sensitivities into something that really becomes your superpower, I encourage you guys to check out our Light Body Essentials and or our Dreamtime Healing Project subscriptions that we have at the Academy, and that's lightbodyacademy.com. If you're a dreamer, you can do both of these things concurrently. We do need to keep cultivating strong, focused energy fields. So the practices and essentials never go away. They're always relevant. So even if you're in Dreamtime Healing Project, you would still do the essentials work as well. So just know that when you're going through the material. All right, we're almost to the top of the hour. Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. So Susan, there's an activation this Saturday. Thank you, Susan, for reminding me. So we do quantum activations once a month. And there's one coming up this Saturday. And that can be registered by, I think Bev will post a link, or if you are on our emailing list, you'll get an invitation with a link to sign up for that. Our quantum activations are about an hour and a half long, a little bit more or less, depending on how much sharing we do. Sometimes we do a lot of sharing, and sometimes it's all clearing work, so it really depends on it. The group energy. Oh, the group energy clearing is this Saturday. Oh my gosh, I'm totally off on my calendar, on my events here. See, I rely on dear sister Sherry to just tell me what I'm supposed to be doing. All right. So the group energy clearing is with dear sister Stacy. She's one of our facilitators. And that's where you track into the energies of the now, of the moment, and clear up blind spots and triggers and stuff like that. It's a really great, and it's for free. So you guys can sign up for that. Go to our newsletter, sign up for our newsletter. You'll get an invitation. You can sign up that way. We put out these calendars that have the invitations on them. So that's how you would get involved that way. All right. That is it for me. I am at the top of the hour. Yeah, I guess did we just do an activation? Is that what we did? We just did an activation at Andy's with the crystals. Okay. It's coming back to me, Sherry. I haven't lost my marbles all the way. Thank you, everybody, for your time and attention. If there is something that you want that's a burning desire, and you really want me to talk about it, you can make your comment here live, or you can email it to our office, wecare@lightbodyacademy.com, and our dear sister Sherry will make sure that I get that email. Oh, Joanne has a PS that she wants to add in, so let me go ahead and say that. All right. PS, more specifically, the amount and degree of unconscious behavior, and there have been many positive changes with consistent supportive consequence rather than the usual. That's awesome. Thank you. Yes, this is, making note of these changes is really important for us, because we get, as you guys know, scrolling or what have you, there is so much bad news out there, more than what the human condition is really meant to deal with. And to savor every special moment, every win is important for us. It's important for us as humans to do that, to savor, to count our blessings, to feel our gratitude, because that keeps us on track. That keeps us moving forward. And this is, you know, something that has been a part of the human experience from, I'm going to say, before time was time, celebrating the moments where there are these reveals, these wins, these feedback loops that show us how the outer world is reflecting the changes from within. Alrighty, darlings. Love you all. I hope you have a wonderful week. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.